There's a kind of man, when you look at him, you think, he's powerful. He did what others couldn't. He stood where others couldn't reach. His name made people afraid. Then one day you hear how it ended. He died. Not on a battlefield, not at an enemy's hand. He died in his own home, in the bath after taking off his armor. In that moment, all the power, all the conquest, all the fear he had built gone. Agamemnon was the most powerful king in Greece, supreme commander of the Trojan War. For 10 years he led an army of heroes. He took down a city. Then he came home with his victory. Then he died. Today I don't want to talk about how great he was. I want to talk about what he lost, and when he started losing it. To understand Agamemnon, you first have to understand the world he lived in. King of Mycenae, highest among all the Greek kings. His position wasn't only inherited, it was something he held up with his entire being. His world had one logic: the strong rule, the weak obey. Decisions don't need explaining, orders don't need discussion. Inside that logic, he was always right. Before the Trojan War began, he faced a demand no father should ever face: sacrifice your daughter to the goddess, or the war cannot start. He did it. Not because he didn't love her, but because in his world there was something larger, the greater mission, responsibility. As king, he could not let the entire alliance stall because of one man's hesitation. He made the decision, then he left his wife Clytemnestra alone with that loss. He never looked back. 10 years. The Trojan War lasted 10 full years. In those 10 years, Agamemnon was commander. Every day, decisions, strategy, managing the entire alliance, holding everything together inside chaos. His entire mind was there, that city, that war, those heroes, that goal. Mycenae existed in his head as a place he knew he'd return to. But that's not the same thing. Knowing you'll go back and letting that place know you still remember it, those are two different things. Clytemnestra ran Mycenae during those 10 years. She was not a weak woman. She had ability, intelligence, political acumen. Alone, she held that kingdom together. But while she held it, there was a question in her heart no one could answer. Does he remember me? Not, does he love me? Something more fundamental in his mind, am I still there? No letter came with the answer. That question, year by year, sank deeper into her, heavier and heavier. Then word came. Troy had fallen. He was coming home. What he brought back wasn't just victory. Also Cassandra, princess of Troy, his war prize, walking through her door. In that moment, the question had an answer, not the one she had been hoping for. I want to say something here that many people don't want to hear. On the battlefield, Agamemnon never needed to explain himself. He said advance, they advanced. He said retreat, they retreated. He said your spoils are now mine. No one could say anything. That kind of power on a battlefield is necessary. But he brought that same logic into his marriage. In his marriage, his decisions required no discussion. His absence required no explanation. The woman he brought home required no permission from his wife, because he was king, because he said so. But marriage is not a battlefield. In marriage, there is no commander. In marriage, there are no soldiers. The person across from you doesn't obey you. She can only choose to stay or to leave. Clytemnestra didn't leave. She waited 10 years. But her heart had already left, long before that. Not on the day he walked in with Cassandra. On the day he killed her daughter, and walked away without looking back. Let me say something clearly. Long absence is not just not being home. Not being home is only a physical fact. Real absence is, in the years you weren't there, things happened to that person. They grieved, they were furious, they survived dark places, alone, and then they kept living. And that kept living didn't include you. They learned how to continue without you. They learned they could. That learning is real, deep, irreversible. When Agamemnon came home, he assumed time had stopped when he left. He assumed home was there waiting. Clytemnestra was there waiting. But time never stopped. In those 10 years, Clytemnestra had become someone else, not a worse person, a person who no longer needed him. Someone who had already closed the door. When he walked through that door, he had no idea it was already closed. He thought he was just coming home. He had no idea he was walking into a place he no longer knew. Greek tragedy has a central concept, hamartia, usually translated as tragic flaw, something essential in a hero, not evil, but a blind spot that, in the right circumstances, pushes them toward ruin. Agamemnon's hamartia wasn't cruelty, wasn't incompetence. It was he never believed he owed anyone an explanation. Not even the people closest to him. That no explanation needed on the battlefield made him win. In his marriage, it cost him that person, one silence at a time. Tragedy is never one big mistake that suddenly destroys someone. Tragedy is a person acting from their deepest nature, again and again, in the same direction, until that direction carries them somewhere they never expected to go. Agamemnon never changed. He used the same logic for the battlefield, the alliance, Achilles, his daughter, his wife. That logic won him Troy. That logic killed him in a bathroom in Mycenae. The moment Agamemnon set down his armor, maybe it was the most relaxed moment of his long life. 10 years of war, finally over. He didn't have to be commander anymore, didn't have to make every decision, didn't have to manage all those heroes. He walked into the bath. Maybe, in that instant, he thought of Mycenae mornings, his bed, some quiet he could barely remember the shape of. Then everything ended. He never got another chance. No chance to start over. No chance to say the thing he never said. No chance to ask the question he never asked. Are you all right? Those words he never had a chance to say. Not because he couldn't, but because in his world that question was never in his vocabulary. Kings don't ask that. Commanders don't need to. But it was exactly that unasked question over 10 long years that let Clytemnestra pull her heart out of that place, one silence at a time. This is Agamemnon's real tragedy. Not that he married a merciless woman, but that he spent his entire life becoming someone people feared and never once learned to become someone people wanted to stay for. Those two things require completely different abilities. Conquest requires strength. Keeping someone requires tenderness. He only learned one. I want to ask you, the person closest to you right now, when did they last feel that you actually saw them? Not what you did for them, not what you gave them, but did they feel that you saw them? Because sometimes a person doesn't need you to conquer anything for them. They just need you to ask, are you all right? Because the world is never quite what you think it is. Wu Talk's world, until next time.